Hello, my name is Florian Munch from Miningscout, and today I have a special guest from Australia, but also from Sweden. I'm today discussing copper and critical minerals from the EU to the EU with Arctic Minerals Executive Director Peter George. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Florian. How are you?
Good, yeah, excellent, and yeah. So let's just dive into it. The macro picture. What is the story of Arctic Minerals? I mean, around 50% of copper mined in the EU or like consumed in the EU is not currently like from our domestic sources. Can you
Mm.
elaborate maybe a little bit on the macro before we dive into the company?
Yeah, well, copper's a fascinating metal. I mean, it's one of those metals that it's an extremely developed market, which is why I'm so focused on it. But in saying that, it's my biggest concern is that we've actually reached peak copper in the world, which means that we don't have the capacity as a mining industry to produce the amount of copper that the world actually requires. And then when you start heading into the protectionism that you're seeing around the world, with China and the US, you're basically looking after themselves first and foremost. I am quite frightened that in the EU we are lagging behind a little bit, and that has resulted in, as you mentioned, 50% of the copper concentrate that the EU consumes in its smelter is actually being imported from countries such as South America. So, over 12,000 kilometers away by boat, mostly all in the name of environmental protection, which, is just amazing to me. We've underinvested the last 50 years in Europe as a whole, not just in the Nordics in exploration, and it's resulted in this situation where we don't really have very much control over our metal supply. So this is a dangerous situation that we're in, and one of the reasons why we're so focused on the copper and of course the silver and the gold that we have in Arctic today.
Okay. Maybe can you tell the audience what do you have and where jurisdiction and so on?
Yeah. Yeah, we are a Nordic explorer and developer of exploration projects. So we have projects in Finland, Norway, and Sweden, with our major project being in Hånnas Bay in Dalsland in southern Sweden. This is a project that's been around for well, going back over 100 years. Was drilled with about a 14,000 meters worth of drilling back in the 70s and 80s by the Swedish state, and put together a historical resource. We picked up the project about 3 years ago in our private company called Rare Earth Energy Metals, which we were then looking for a home for. And we did a merger together with Arctic Minerals only in October of 2024. So
It's a fresh
Arctic Minerals is
company with
basically,
with a very historic
yeah.
project, it seems.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So it's interesting. So yeah, I mean, Arctic, as you say, is basically a brand new company in everything but name. I mean, Arctic has been around for a decade or so. Haven't had a great deal of success, probably for the same reasons as I mentioned before, just a lot of underinvestment in Europe and the Nordics. But I think that situation is changing significantly now, obviously with the Critical Raw Materials Metal Act enacted by the EU in last year, and countries such as Sweden that are really trying to lead the way with regards to improving that metal supply, and
Yeah.
bringing mines back into Europe.
And we see like I do see it because I'm like dealing a lot in the with companies in the mining industry, and I see many companies looking for projects or advancing projects in the Nordic states, like in Sweden or in Finland. Yeah, it's like a new hub for mining is opening up in the EU, and nobody's yet talking about it or like seeing its full potential. But there's
Mm.
like big mineral potential, and also the regulatory side is quite
Yeah.
attractive.
Yeah. No, well, geologically, Sweden, Finland, Norway, these are fascinating parts of the world. I mean, like example, just with Hånnas Bay. I mean, with this project, we have 55 million tons already there now in a JORC compliant resource. We think that this project is very similar geologically to the Kupferschiefer, which of course a lot of your readers will know down in Germany and Poland. So we see that 55 million tons really as a starter resource. It's got the potential to be in the hundreds of millions tons. We're very confident in that. We have another 5 prospects out nearby Dingelvik, which we didn't convert over to JORC compliance because they require a couple more drill holes to achieve that. Plus, we've got grab samples at surface of 1.78% copper and 40 grams per ton silver. Like I said, 17, 18 kilometers away.
But the overall, like the bulk material at the flagship asset, Hånnas Bay, it's copper with a silver byproduct, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's predominantly copper. So about 0.8% copper and about 20.1 grams per ton of silver, which is obviously nearly tripled in value, the silver over the last 3 years since we started looking at this particular project, and copper itself has also increased significantly from that around about the $2.50 per pound to up over $5 per pound today. So I think our timing has been absolutely perfect. But we also have a couple of other byproducts within Hånnas Bay, potentially with the gallium and the germanium, the vanadium, but we also have some quite high grade hits of gold over there in the Stora Strand on the eastern side of the project. So we haven't included any of those within the current resource, but we are looking into the value of those going forward. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's look into the listing situation, because it may be quite interesting for some viewers. Because the primary listing is not ASX or TSX. It's the First North in Stockholm. So this is a Swedish company.
Right.
Yeah, and we have a secondary listing in Frankfurt, so German investors will be able to buy the stock. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, well, look, we did like I said, we merged Arctic together with my private company, Rare Earth Energy Metals, back in October. And our plan over that first 12 months was to really take the historical data, put out the maiden resource, which we did in March. But we've also put a lot of effort into refinancing the company. So we've had 3 capital raises over the last 12 months. Well, 2 and a warrant that came in. So we've raised about 40 million krona over the last 12 months. So we currently have around about 17 million krona sitting in the bank today, roughly.
That's like roughly 1 to 10, yeah, like 1.5 million euros or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and for a little company like ours, that's a significant amount of money and we've got that money in the bank ready for us to actually start drilling, and we've just completed a whole bunch of geophysical work up at Hånnas Bay and at Swan Lake as well. So we're fully funded to do the work plans that we've got in place at the moment. Hopefully we'll start drilling down at Hånnas Bay in February, March 2026. We've already put in all of our applications for that drilling program. We're just waiting on those to come back through in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. So investors always want to know, like, what is the company planning? What's the pending news flow? What's the pending activity? Yeah, so drilling campaign in February, March. You have some geophys thing you're working on.
Yeah, well, we're actually really excited about that. So we recognized quite early on that the resource was going to be an awful lot bigger than the 55 million tons, which we have just at Dingelvik. As already mentioned, there was another 5 prospects there. So we ran what is called an MMT survey over the top of it, and together with the historical mag data, we've put all of that information together, and the initial feedback that I'm getting from the geophysicists is everyone's super excited about how it looks. So, I've been telling a lot of people, a lot of investors and potential investors, that this is a lot bigger than the 55 million tons. It's now up to us to demonstrate that. I'm hoping that in the new year I'll be able to come out and let everybody know what we always believed. And then, of course, that's going to then follow with the drilling program to hopefully start in February, March. But then also we're also going to be starting to submit more drilling applications on the back of the geophysics information that we're just getting back to us now. So hopefully we'll be just drilling all year and for the next few years.
Yeah, which leads us to the general investment thesis. Yeah, I mean, timing seems to be right. So
Yeah,
there's news flow
yeah,
ahead. We have a
yeah.
very good metals market. Yeah, and we've been waiting
Mm,
for this for over 10 years. And now it's
absolutely.
finally seems we have very good momentum in copper and
Mm,
in silver. Copper
mm,
has some more room to go for sure.
mm.
But like on Arctic minerals specifically, what would you say? Why should investors not only put it on the watch list, but maybe execute, put something in the
Yeah,
portfolios?
yeah. Well, portfolio is probably the preeminent word here. So we have a very well balanced portfolio. So we've got two advanced exploration projects and two or three greenfields exploration projects. So that gives us the optionality for an awful lot of news flow as we move forward. Our Hånnas Bay project, we compare ourselves to a couple of other projects in the Nordics that have gone through exactly the same process as what we have over the last 5 years, and we think that we can be construction ready in about 5 years' time.
Hmm.
So we have quite a few milestones to achieve over the next 5 years, including putting out our preliminary economic analysis and our feasibility studies, but then also our mining permits and our environmental permits. So we have a very, very busy schedule over the next 5 years to achieve all of those things. But each time we achieve one of those milestones, we realistically we should be getting revalued. And I think in a hot market like what we're coming into now, with we only have a market capitalization of about 230, 240 million krona today. So when I compare my Arctic to some of our peers in Sweden, such as Viscaria Gruvbolag, they were where we are about 5-6 years ago at around about that 250 million krona mark. They're now sitting up over, I think, at around about 2.5 billion krona. So
Yeah,
it's been a
yeah.
10 bagger from there. So, and that's in a poor market.
And
So,
yeah, yes, and that's
yeah.
like for me as an investor and for many people in our audience, it's quite important to see the valuation and what's coming. Is there like something left on the table? Yeah, is there a good upside from the current state? And I think we have that here. Ticks the boxes. It ticks the boxes with management, jurisdiction, and so on. So I thank you very much for this quick interview. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I think it would just perhaps touch on what you just mentioned then. I think it's an absolute cracking buy, Arctic. I mean, I know personally when I invest in companies, I'm not particularly interested in investing in a boring old mining company that's been around for 50 years and making a dividend. I'm in it to make 5, 10, 20 baggers. And I see this as this has got that type of potential at Arctic. Absolutely. We're very early on in our story, even though we have an advanced exploration project at Hånnas Bay, but the upside is huge. And I think a lot of your viewers will already understand the potential of what you have down there in the Kupferschiefer. And I'm pretty confident that we've got something quite similar, if not better, given that it's outcropping at surface.
Thank you, Peter. And anybody who's interested in the stock, you can look up in at the First North Stockholm in Sweden at the exchange or in Frankfurt. Put it on the watch list. And thanks, Peter, for the interview. And cheers. See you soon.
Good on you. Thanks, Florian. Bye bye.